Hello developers, writers, and everyone who loves game design.
Welcome to DLC Not Included, our weekly podcast where we discuss game development, the industry, and everything in between.
We're your hosts, Steele
and Teal. Glad you could join us.
8 episodes into our first season, and it already feels like we've warmed up to a new way of life.
Yes, it has. And I really enjoy doing these on a Saturday as well.
Same.
Kind of relaxed.
Yeah, we start our Saturday, have a little breakfast, kind of look at how our weekend's going to go, then we sit down and have this podcast.
Nice.
Yeah, so if you're watching us live, just remember, you can spend your slime points, and at the end of the podcast, we'll answer questions. The only option you'll have available is the podcast question. And so let's just jump in. We're going to be talking about community networking
Yes,
today.
we are.
The reason I use the word community networking is because we're not talking about networking a game.
No. I just want to say something right out of the starting gate that as a business person,
yes,
you hear about networking a lot. Mm-hmm. And while networking is a part of marketing yourself, this topic is not about marketing.
Right.
Okay. So just remember, it's about building relationships.
Right. Even though, like you said, it's a subset, we could go into an entire podcast just about marketing. All right. So even though we're approaching this topic as game developers, because that's the point of the podcast.
Right.
You can actually use the networking techniques and tips that we're going to talk about during the length of this hour in any professional or hobbyist avenue, any of them. Do not feel like you have to restrict this just to being a game developer. It's anything. Networking is a very, it's a skill set that will carry you throughout your entire life. But let's just start off with the definition. What is networking?
Well, the Oxford Dictionary, which I love consulting, defines networking as the action or process of interacting with others to exchange information and develop professional or social contacts. I love that.
I know, it is very sweet, but it does get down to the very essence of what networking is. Human beings are, at their core, very social creatures.
Right.
We build our entire lives based off of that whole, is it the Erickson intimacy versus isolation?
Yes.
Yeah. So when we reach a certain point in our lives, we as human beings seek the company of others. Even introverts need to have some kind of an interaction. Otherwise, mental degradation begins to occur. So under that psychological understanding, we are social creatures.
Yes,
and
we
networking builds up a trust literally just from socializing.
So basically, you're going to network to increase the number of people you know and who you know.
Yes.
Because honestly, this is helpful in any of your careers, any hobby, any community.
Yeah.
The more people you know, the more people you can work with, learn from.
Right.
You can teach and sell, whatever, anything that you do.
Right.
You can turn to more people for advice.
Right. So in a game developer community, the more you network, the more you can build up people who could assist you.
Yeah.
Even if it's not doing something for you, just giving you advice.
Right.
The more you can network people who potentially may want to work on your game project with you.
Yes.
It's not just about, a quid pro quo of I pay you and you do something for me. Networking could help you find someone who's willing to exchange service for service.
Right.
Like I could write dialogue for someone's game, and in return they could compose musical tracks for me.
Right.
That kind of thing.
Something like that.
Yeah. It is one of the most tried and true ways to improve your career. It in many ways, they even say that it's better than things like a well-polished resume.
Yes.
And to some extent, even better than a portfolio, because networking gets you into that door with not just potential careers, but people who are going to be a part of your professional hobbyist life forever.
Yeah.
Well-networked people are much more likely to get contacted for opportunities than those who don't. That's just straight up truth. It's that whole adage of...
It's all about who you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That the long-winded version of what Steele just gave, titrated down to one sentence. It's all about who you know.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
But, networking also, it allows you to contribute something to others as well.
The whole concept of reciprocity.
reciprocity or
reciprocation.
Yeah, reciprocation.
Reciprocation.
That's it.
We're not reading off a note card on that word at all. We wrote that one down. We decided when we started preparing for this podcast, we're like, we better write this one down. We're going to mispronounce it. And what do we both do?
We mispronounce it. It's a cool word though that I found in the Oxford Dictionary.
Yes, but it's basically reciprocation, which is quid pro quo. You help me, I help you.
Yeah. And that sort of thing just makes it easier for people to exchange information and ideas and opportunities. People are more likely to assist you.
Right. People will assist you if you assist them. I mean,
yes.
We're using all of these big words and we're talking all these great things about psychology and sociology, but it comes down to if you help someone else, they're more than likely going to help you.
Absolutely.
And it allows you to be a part of something outside your own project.
Getting yourself out of yourself, getting you out of your own little bubble.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, being a game developer, like being a writer, can be a very solitary craft.
Yes.
Especially if you're a solo developer working by yourself.
Late at night, yeah.
After you put the kids and the wife to bed, or the husband. It can be tough.
Yeah.
And sometimes being a part of communities and networking out to members of those communities can make it not so lonely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because again, it's that whole feeling of isolation. And when a person who is a creative becomes isolated, it can often become very negative. You read stories about the tragic artist who, struggled with their art for many years and no one reached out to them and then something bad happened.
Right.
Unfortunately, life can be that way. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go over some ways to effectively network.
Right. Because if you're going to network, let's be good at it. Let's let it be productive and not just spinning your wheels.
But we're also going to talk about some things to avoid because sometimes people think networking is, I'm skipping the line a little bit, but people think that networking is going out there and selling yourself, and that's not quite what it is.
No.
You are not a salesman when you are a networker.
Right.
You are a human being connecting to other human beings.
Right.
So let's talk about some ways to effectively network.
Yeah. And remember, these are just some of the ways.
Right.
Please feel free to experiment. Find a rhythm that works for you.
Yeah.
Okay? Because we're all different.
Everyone's going to approach things a little differently, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But if what we talk about today gives you a starting point, then we've succeeded.
Yes. And I feel good about that.
There are two main types of networking. You're not really going to find this in a book. This is just what we picked up from researching. They would be like your active networking and passively networking.
So active networking is going out and meeting people.
That's right.
Joining communities, going to meetups, that sort of thing.
Passive networking is more like creating a place where people can come to you, like having a blog, having a YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, YouTube.
Those kind of things, right. So you're creating a social avenue for people to come to you. That's passive. We're going to talk more about active today because passive is kind of its own little monster where you're creating a place where people can come to you. We're going to reference YouTube channels and blogs and such.
Of course we are.
But please understand that is its own monster because what you're doing is you're creating a space for people to come to you. Today we're going to focus on the active networking where you go out and meet people.
Yeah. So first of all, if you have the time, do something in your industry that builds a rapport.
Yes.
Okay. We talked about the blogging and the YouTubing.
Right.
So yeah, if you do have the time to do that, then do it.
Yes.
And here's some advice from Teal. Do this before you start to actively network, because then people will already kind of recognize your name. Hey, I've seen that channel. Yeah. I've seen that, and then people will start talking. You can just start talking about it.
Right, exactly. Now, again, it's a different monster on how to do that.
Yeah,
and there are other ways you could do that. You could create like a Discord server. You could create like a forum. Using any of the forum softwares that are out there. There are many things that you could do. But the fact of the matter is this. If someone knows your name prior to you going out networking, then you have a better chance of them recognizing you and your networking being easier.
Yeah.
For for game developers, this could also be creating a game.
Like for a game jam.
Right. So or a game that was released on Steam, even if it's free.
Exactly.
You know, I'm the guy who created Eternal Cinia, or even for Eternia, or Radiant Arc.
Right.
I'm the person who created Trailblazer. I did To the Moon. I did Sometimes Always Monsters, etc., 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 etc. People are going to recognize that.
Yeah.
And go, oh, I've played that game, or oh, I've heard of that game.
Yeah.
Then they're going to be more likely to talk with you.
Exactly.
And you want to look specifically for communities, forums, groups, etc., that align with your profession or your community.
Yeah.
You don't want, I mean, you always want to go out and meet people, but you're going to have more success as a game developer going to a game developer community than you are to a movie or writers community.
Right.
While you still can make friends and potential contacts, the success is going to be in a industry-specific community or meetup.
And I do want to point out that because of the recent pandemic, it's harder to go out and meet because groups just aren't meeting.
Right.
But but while we have said online groups do offer the greatest reach,
they do indeed.
The physical groups do offer the greatest intimacy.
Right.
So yes, online for now, because that's the world we live in.
Yes.
But when you can, when it's safe to do so,
yes,
go out and physically meet people at a meetup.
Yeah.
We ourselves.
We do.
We have, before the pandemic, would go out to writers meetups.
Yes. Yeah, the Houston Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers Meetup.
And that is how we made our writer friends and contacts that we have really benefited. All of us have in the network.
I actually met my publisher through that meetup.
Yeah.
So that goes to show you it can work. I go to a film meetup, or went to a film meetup.
Yeah, before, right.
And there was actually an independent game developer meetup here before things started going wonky. So big cities help for meetups, but you can also create your own.
Yes.
Websites like meetup.com would allow you to say, hey, so I live in this place where it has a modest population. I'm going to create a meetup for that in the surrounding cities, and y'all can come here and we can talk about game development.
Yeah.
And boom. It's all about taking that chance and moving that one step forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just go there. But here's the thing, though. When you go to a community, when you go to a meetup, when you go anywhere, come with questions and be ready to ask them. And we see that a lot on different communities that we're part of online-wise. Like the RPG Maker community, the Unreal community. People will join a forum or a Discord channel, and they'll start with a question. Some people have come and told me, behind the scenes, I'm a little nervous about that. And I say, don't do that.
Yeah, do that.
Log on to a server and say, hey, my name is blank. I'm working in blank engine. I'm making these kind of games, but I have a question.
Exactly.
Because asking a question, this is Psychology 101, asking a question allows you to connect with a person with the least level of imposition. You're just asking out loud, hey, could anyone help me with X?
Right.
Not do this for me, not tell me what to do, but I have a question about map making.
Yeah.
What tile set would you all recommend for a starting map maker? And then boom, the next thing you know, you're in a conversation with someone.
Right.
And, be ready to be specific, by the way.
Yeah.
But you can also be very broad. Both are fine. So you can walk into a conversation about map making and say, hey, what type of tile set is best for forests that are going to have a Super Nintendo look? That's very specific. Or you could be very broad scale, walk into a conversation, a community, and say, look, I really don't know how to do level design. Can someone point me in the right direction?
So, yeah, be ready to learn.
Be ready.
That's the takeaway I have with this. Be ready to learn and be open to multiple possible solutions.
Yeah, you're not going to get just one answer, but that's okay, because the whole point of this is called the approach. The whole point of the approach is to open the doorway for conversation. Remember, you're not doing this because you want something. There's no ulterior motive. You're just going to connect with people in your community. Yeah. Whatever that community may be.
So on the opposite side, if you're offering advice to someone, know your subject.
Please do.
even if it's a singular thing.
Yep.
Like if you're really good at NPC dialogue.
Yeah. Advise on that. So if you're in a community and someone asks a question online or on forum, hey, I need some advice on writing dialogue, and it perks your ear up and go, hey, wait, I'm good at that.
Yeah.
And then you can listen to what they have to say. And you could say, hey, here's my thoughts.
Right.
And that's good because when you ask a question that opens up that line of communication, or you answer a question someone else has asked, opening up that line of communication, it creates, we're going to visit this word multiple times, rapport.
Rapport.
And what is rapport, Teal?
It is the mutual building of trust between two people.
Which is absolutely paramount to networking.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You cannot network if you cannot build rapport with someone. But let me go and say this. If you're going to offer advice, if you're going to give, hey, here's some ways to do a thing, like NPC dialogue, always be ready to admit you're wrong. If someone else who's more knowledgeable, or maybe you had a brain synapse misfire, it all happens. We're human. No one's perfect.
Yeah.
And they show you why you're wrong, just admit, so you know what? I was wrong. That's correct. And people will not think less of you if you admit you're wrong. They'll be like, okay. And then you can say, well, here's why I thought this incorrect answer was correct. And then you are kind of learning, you're pushing towards the person who had the correct answer and attempting to get a learning moment from them.
That's what I was going to say. Yes. Again, be open to learning.
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be somebody more knowledgeable than you. It's the whole, there's always somebody better out there, worse out there than you. That whole thing.
Yes.
So, yeah, be open to learning.
Yeah.
And you'll be better able to offer advice next time because now you know a little bit more about your subject.
Right.
Yeah.
When you go into any kind of community, whether it be in person, online, through a forum, it doesn't matter, and you're closed in as this audience of one, and you're scared of saying anything, we understand that. But you also are going to have a harder time connecting. However, as closed in as you are, if you walk in with the intent to learn, then no matter what, you'll eventually come out of your shell.
So when you're conversing with people, you want to talk with them.
Yes.
Not at them.
No.
Talk with them and learn conversational beats.
That's right.
Tell us more about conversational beats.
So a conversational beat is the unheard rhythm of a conversation. I know that sounds, what are you talking about? So when we're conversing, Teal and I, usually during the live streams, with the exception of talking over each other due to excitement.
Yes, because we get excited.
I get excited. Generally speaking, I'll say something. She'll add on to it. I'll add on to it. I might go into an anecdote. You might go into an anecdote. It's a back and forth. Think of it like a verbal ping pong. Those are conversational beats. Everyone has a conversational rhythm. We all do.
Yes.
Even the people who ramble on and never hush have a conversational rhythm. There's a pause to take a breath. A moment where a period is at the end of a sentence and a full thought has been delivered. That is a beat.
Yes, it is.
And a beat is when you can jump in and say something. Now, learning when to start the speak and when to not do the speak is difficult. That is a learned skill. It takes time. Practice.
Yeah.
Have conversations with your friends. Don't talk over each other. Wait until each person has made a statement that could be considered a full thought. Maybe not the full story they want to tell. Maybe not the entire paragraph, but a full sentence thought. Then add in your piece and let them add in their piece. It takes time. We could probably do a podcast literally on conversational beat. But when you're conversing, learn those.
Yeah.
And that will help you with that, to kind of go back to where we started, that in the shell, because you're afraid you're going to embarrass yourself.
You know, that's actually a good way to seg into this next little point, because this to me is one of the crucial, I guess, core concepts of networking.
Oh, yes.
And that is be genuinely curious about other people, about their projects and their lives.
Yes.
because this will further your own education,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll create a rapport.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But listen to the words that Teal used here. She said, be genuinely curious. Genuine.
Yeah.
You need to have that. I want to learn about other people. I want to know these other people. I want to know their projects, their lives. You don't have to get down into like their hopes, their dreams, their wants and everything, but you have to care about them.
Mm-hmm.
If you walk into a room or into a community with what can you do for me, you're going to have problems.
Yeah,
You're not going to build rapport.
No.
So be genuinely curious. Ask questions about their project. Remember what you asked. So if I ask a person, hey, what project are you doing? And they say, well, I'm doing a Dark Souls-like spaghetti Western. That sounds interesting. Remember that and follow up later. Hey, how's your spaghetti Western Dark Souls game coming along?
Right.
You know, that kind of thing. What else can you do?
Or learn a personal fact about them and remember it.
That's a big one.
You know, this creates a bond.
Oh yeah.
So they tell you about their son working on the science fair project.
There you go.
Then you can later question, say, hey, did your son win the science fair?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
That builds a rapport right there.
And then if they say, yeah, he won first place, he got blue ribbon, later on say, hey, you know, this is blank and blank. Hey, his son got a blue ribbon in the science fair.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously that has to relate to what you're talking about, but then you've expanded the rapport. That person says, holy crap, this person took time to remember about my son and the science fair.
Right.
You know, and that's the thing is too, when you remember what people are working on, what's happening in their lives, and you talk about it, they're going to know you care.
Yeah.
And it builds that rapport, that trust. But there's something else. What is it?
So I just wanted to circle back a little bit before we move on and say that if you're an introvert like me and you feel a little shy about jumping into something new, that genuine curiosity, at least for me, it might help you to go ahead and don't run, but walk out there and learn. For me, overcoming the shyness was having my curiosity drive me. Yeah. So that might help for some of you who are shy about getting out there and feeling like, oh, I don't want to bother this person. I don't want to impose. Your curiosity will lead you forward, and then your empathy will see you through.
Because once you get that little switch in your mind away from I'm nervous about asking someone for something to I'm asking someone something about something. So I'm not asking for something, I'm asking about something. Curiosity. And then Teal mentioned empathy. Empathy is important.
Oh, absolutely.
Always show empathy towards others. Always. What are some good examples of that? If something good happens, congratulate them. Even if it's something you wanted, we're going to cycle back to that. Hey, I heard that you're getting published by Ubisoft. Congratulations! Well, there's also an inverse to that.
If something bad has happened, then offer your condolences and support.
Yeah.
Such as, hey, I heard about your mother. I'm very, very sorry.
Yeah.
And
if you know them well enough, you can actually broadly offer assistance. Don't push it, but you can offer assistance. Hey, if there's anything I can do to help, please let me know.
Yeah.
What you don't want to do is the first time you meet someone and you find out something bad happened. You don't want to be, if there's anything I can do to help, please let me know. That makes it sound like you want to do a favor for a favor, which kind of is what it is. But if you've got to know them, if you spent some time with them, if you've been with a few meetups or a few community meetings, or you've known them for a couple of months and you find out something happened badly, then you can say, hey, there's anything I can do, help you out. Again, don't do it under the auspice of trying to get something.
Right.
You have to be genuine.
You're offering something. Okay.
How can I help you?
Yeah, how can I help you?
What can I do for you? I know I just did True Emotion.
Honestly, just if you reach out to people, whether it's good or bad news, as soon as you hear the news, whether it's second or third hand, that goes a long way towards building rapport with that individual.
It does.
You know,
reading the room is important too.
Ah, yes, reading the room. We've heard about that.
Whether it's in person where you're reading the room or you're reading the room in an online conversation. Reading the room means getting a handle of what's happening by paying attention to the people who are there and what they're talking about.
You know, getting the feel for the mood of the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you go into a chat room and people are talking about a very serious topic, debating something, and it is really obvious that these people are passionately talking about whatever element of game design that they care about, and you start talking about cats, or or you start grumping about how bad your day is, that shows a lack of empathy.
Yeah.
It shows a lack of reading the room, and it pulls people away from you.
Oh yeah, they start pulling away.
They start pulling away. However, if you go into that room and you see what's happening, and you either quietly lurk or participate, then later reach out to a person and say, hey, look, we're having a great conversation. I know that, but when you're done, can I talk to you? I'm having a bad day. And it's someone you know. Maybe they'll listen to you for a few minutes, and it doesn't break rapport. It's a support network, which is a different topic, but you're going to break rapport if you go in there and just
blah.
Yeah, I like cats.
Yeah.
Don't interrupt important things.
Oh, please.
And that's the same thing in real life.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing in real life. You walk there into real life, into a room, read it. Are people having a serious conversation? Are they joking and laughing? Are they telling lewd jokes? Are they showing samples of their work?
Yeah.
Read the room. All that requires is for you to walk into that area, whether it be virtually or physically, hush your mouth. Yeah,
keep button your lip and read what has been posted. Okay.
Or look and see what's happening in front of you. It requires the look before you leap mentality.
Yeah.
It goes a long way.
So talking about communities.
Talk about community. Let's go back to communities. Okay.
Yeah, because that's what we're focusing on is communities. Become involved. Become involved and remain active in your communities.
100%.
You want to approach your membership to the community as how you can give to them. And we've said that before. We said that multiple times during this podcast.
Yes.
And it's true. How can you help others?
Yeah. Even if it's moral support, like, hey, you can do it. I believe in your game. I believe in your project. There's a couple of people in one of the communities we belong in, the RPG Maker community, who are so unbelievably supportive.
Yes.
They will respond to the smallest bit of news that's positive with hearts and hugs and well wishes. And I know you can do it. You are the most wonderful, awesome person in the world. And it's so addictively positive.
Yeah.
But that's good.
And it comes from a place of genuineness.
Yeah, real love. Real love. And that's not the only community we've been a part of that has that. A writers group that we go to in Houston.
Oh yeah.
There's one of the people we're friends with, the doctor. He's actually super, super positive.
Yes.
And he will always put his hand on your back, ask you how your day has been. He'll talk to you about what's going on in his life. He wants to know how your latest writing project is going, whether has that manuscript been vetted yet, blah blah. And it's genuine. This man really wants to know how we're doing. And let me tell you, human beings pick up on that genuineness.
Yes, they do.
We super fast. Super fast. So once you're in there in that helpful, how can you give? How can I help you all? What can I give to my community? Don't stop.
Yeah, remain active. Keep posting. Keep posting to those forums, chatting on Discord. Create content. You want to stay relevant
at all times, because
social media, we all have it goes so fast. Yes. It really goes so fast. Yes. And you want to keep up with it.
If you have an affinity to it, if social media is something you have a problem with, don't half-butt it. Don't half-ass it. And we speak from experience there. We are actually not the best when it comes to social media. We're pretty bad. So we don't really do a lot of social media. We do a lot of stuff on the Discord channels and the forum posts and our YouTube channel and our Twitch channel. That's how we network and communicate and be a part of the community. But let's say you're the kind of person that loves Twitter.
Yeah.
Tweet all day.
Tweet. Yes.
Tweet all day. Just tweet, 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 tweet.
Keep in touch with others.
Yes, keep in touch with others. Connect. You know, it can be email, forums, instant
messages. Yeah,
that works too.
What you want to do is check in with someone you haven't seen or heard from in a while.
Right.
That can make all the difference in the world
Yes,
to that person.
It really can. You never know when someone's having a bad day, and you're checking in on them. Gives them a reason to smile and soldier on.
Absolutely.
So the whole point of all of that is to remain active in the community you're in. Because once you drop off the face of the earth, two things are going to happen. First, people are going to worry about you. And two, your rapport is going to atrophy.
Yeah.
And you have to.
You suffer from relevance at that point. Some people may forget.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah.
That's horrible to say.
It is.
It's horrible, but unfortunately, it is true.
Yeah, we as human beings tend to remember the most the things that are in front of us.
Yeah. And
if something vanishes for a while, well, you may be able to make a comeback, but you still have to make a comeback.
Yeah.
So, then the most important rule of all, as far as I'm concerned, is be bold and be yourself. Be you. Be
authentic.
Yes.
Authenticity is really important.
Yes.
Study after study has shown that people, especially nowadays, really respond to authenticity and come down hard on fakeness.
Yeah, people can tell if something's fake.
Yep.
You may not think it. You may think, oh, these people are gullible, blah, blah, blah. No, that's not the case at all. People can tell if someone's fake. So let the real you show.
Yeah.
If the real you is a bit morose humor, like, dark humor.
Daria.
Daria. Have dark humor.
Yeah.
If the real you is a joker who likes to, make silly sounds and make silly jokes, be that. Be you. Yes, of course, you want to tone down disruptive behavior, but always be the person who you are. And when I say be bold, I mean it. Approach someone and take a chance.
Yeah.
It's the scariest step is the first.
Yes, it is. But as I said, let your curiosity drive you.
Yeah. Because that person you approach may one day be your best contact. And that is a true story because this one person I approached ended up becoming my publisher.
Yeah.
That never would have happened if I hadn't taken that terrifying first step forward. So now we're talking about throwing yourself out there, being bold, but be humble too.
Yes, humility.
You can be bold and humble at the same time. Bold is not pride.
No.
Bold is courage to take that first step. Humility is
the willingness to learn.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about this subject.
Right.
Let me learn. Show me. Or I was wrong about this one thing. Let me learn.
Yeah. Admitting you're wrong goes so far. So far. And then most importantly, just keep at it. No, just don't give up. Never give up, never surrender. Galaxy Quest.
Yeah.
Because this is not a sprint.
It's a marathon.
It's a marathon.
Yeah.
If you don't want to walk out the door and get ready to networking and say, okay, I've got 2 weeks to get a contract. No, you need to go out networking in your industry as a long marathon, a long run. Months, years.
Yeah.
It's a lifelong thing.
It is a lifelong thing.
So now that we've talked about what to do, we're going to shift gears and talk about some things to avoid. So, tone alert.
Stuff.
It's about to get negative. So rule number one.
Don't be a jerk.
Just don't be a jerk.
Don't be a jerk.
Don't be a jerk. It's not attractive. It's not interesting. Jerks who everybody wants to either be best friends with or date are John Hughes films.
Yeah.
That's not reality. No one wants to work with an ass.
Because if your persona is a jerk, you're going to be treated like a jerk, regardless of how nice you may be.
Yeah.
Quote unquote, IRL.
Right, IRL. Exactly. The only time you get away with being a jerk is if it's a character on screen.
Yeah.
Or you're a WWE wrestler who's a heel. Then you can be a jerk as your persona, and the real you can be the sweetest person in the world. But when you're networking out there, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. And that includes, If you're a YouTuber, don't be an asshole. If you're a Switch streamer, don't be an asshole. If you're a forum moderator or a forum contributor, don't be an asshole.
Yeah. Sure, people may remember you, okay, but that's not a good thing. No. If anything, they'll remember you and tell others to stay away from you.
Right. Now, the good thing is that humor can kind of cover negative behavior, but only to a point. So you could actually, you could be someone who's kind of like the funny jerk, but don't cross that line. Be funnier than you are jerkier.
That's a hard line to walk. So I would recommend don't do it.
I agree.
Okay.
It's very hard.
Only one person out of 100 can successfully pull that off.
Right.
Don't be one of the 99.
Right. If you're joking around with your friends, that's different. We're not talking about that.
No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about going out and talking to strangers,
yes,
or people, acquaintances,
yes,
that sort of thing. When you're out there,
broadcasting out all your data for everyone on your Twitch stream to see, then you want to be more funny than anything else.
Right.
By the way, we talked earlier about give. Do not take more from the community without giving.
Yeah.
So don't take more than you give, ever.
Don't be a taker.
Ever. Don't be a taker. People hate takers.
Yeah. On that same vein of being a taker, when you're communicating, don't talk at people.
No.
You're not a professor. This isn't a classroom. You're not lecturing at a class.
Right. If you're actually lecturing, then you're literally lecturing.
That's not networking.
You'll know you'll know you're lecturing. They'll know you're lecturing.
Yeah.
You're lecturing. That's not the same. Like Teal just said.
No, you're talking with people.
Yeah. Conversing.
Yeah.
On the vein of not being selfish, don't use the community solely for your personal gain. People sniff that out super easily,
and they'll call you out on it.
Ooh,
now you have public humiliation to deal with.
Yeah, and potential becoming a pariah.
Yeah.
So if you're going into a networking situation with the mindset of how can I get people to do things for me, you're doing it for the wrong reason, and it's not going to work out.
No, please don't use people.
Just don't. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's ugly. It puts a bad name on everyone else, and it actually has a lasting harm in the person who's used starts to distrust that community more. And if a person is used a lot, or if a lot of people are getting used in a community, that community can implode. The more distrust a community has, the less likely that community is going to last. But let's talk about people in general, because we mentioned earlier what happens when something good happens to a person. Hey, you just got published by Ubisoft. Congratulations. What's the worst thing in the world when something good happens?
Never show your jealousy.
Ever.
If you feel jealous,
yes,
okay, that person got what you wanted. Don't show it.
Ever.
Ever. Because trust me, life goes on.
Yeah.
And there's other opportunities and other days.
There's a reason why in some religions, envy is considered a deadly sin. It is highly, highly destructive. And people pick up on envy super fast.
Yeah, it's very toxic.
Exceedingly.
And people avoid that, and they'll avoid you.
Yeah, you'll become a pariah. You'll become removed or rendered irrelevant. Now, it's also a human emotion. So if you are envious, if you were vying for this thing and someone else got it, and you can't hide how you feel, just stay away from the situation. Just stay away.
Wait till it, you cool down, it cools down the situation, get some time and distance to it.
If you can't, and we're not saying to fake it, if you can't hide it, just distance yourself completely.
Yeah.
And in the whole vein of hiding it, don't be fake. Do not be a faker. Don't be a fake person.
Just if you can't deal, step away.
Yeah.
It's okay. Seriously, it's okay to step away from the situation.
Yeah.
And then come back later.
Do not express humility if there is no humility.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Don't be like, I'm humbled that this blog post, which doxed my nemesis, received 12,000 likes. That sounds so fake. You're not humble. You're grateful that you got one up on your rival. Or I'm humbled that I was nominated for this award, even though I'm God's gift to game designers. I mean, seriously, you think you are the Mozart of game development. Don't act like you're humbled. And that's the thing is, too, is when you put forth that fake emotion, people instantly know you're disingenuous.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just,
and you get a rep.
Yeah. So it's really better to do, if you're prideful for what you did, it's better to just shut up and be happy.
Shut up and be happy you did well. Yeah, okay.
People can tell it's fake. They can just tell. Speaking of fake.
Ooh. Okay. If you make a mistake, which we all do, just own it and move on.
Please.
Don't double down in order to save face.
Because you're not actually saving face. You're looking more and more like a jackass.
You're looking more and more bad.
Yeah. It don't ever. Just, it's hard. Swallowing your pride, eating crow is tough.
Yeah.
I can speak from first person.
Me too.
It sucks.
Yep.
But it's better.
Just, yeah.
You're going to be forgiven by more people more quickly and more permanently if you say, okay, I screwed up.
Yeah.
Than if you double down and try to, no, well, you're not wrong. I'm not wrong. You're wrong. Blah, blah, blah. No, people can tell immediately.
And also, don't defend every single thing you do.
Mm-hmm.
Let your work speak for itself.
Please. That goes into when you're being, when you're being criticized. But that's beyond the purview of this podcast. Let's just say this. If you find that you're constantly having to defend yourself and your work instead of letting your work speak for itself, you're doing it wrong.
If you constantly having to defend yourself.
Yeah. It's
for something you did or didn't do or blah, blah, blah.
There's a problem.
Yeah, there's a problem.
There's a problem. Also, kind of on that vein, don't argue with people who review your work. That's in their community.
Yeah, right.
Especially if it's a peer or mentor level. So if you go into a community and you say, here's the game I've been developing, and people give you feedback, shut up and take the feedback.
Right. Because what have we said all this time? Networking is about building rapport with people.
Yeah.
And getting more people to know you, getting to know more people, expanding your circle. And if you're the type of person that argues and fusses and defends and you're wrong, I'm not wrong, you're shooting yourself in the foot. In fact, you're shooting yourself in both feet. And why? Don't do that.
Don't do that. If someone in your community takes time to give you feedback on your game or to help you with your game in any way, shape, or form, just listen to what they have to say and then move on.
Yeah.
We will probably do another podcast one day on criticism, but for now,
this is all part of networking and people connecting.
People connecting and keeping those connections. Oh boy, this one here. You can tell I'm reading from a list at this point. Don't expect to be the center of attention.
Wow.
This one just.
Because we've known people.
I'm gonna go and just run with this one too.
Okay, you go for it. This one actually affected you personally.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are techniques out there that you can learn specifically to grab and keep attention. They're psychological techniques where you can walk into a room regardless of what's happening, and you can do certain things, say certain things, talk to certain people, and do things in a certain order, and suddenly everyone in the room, the majority of the people in the room, would be listening to you, laughing along with you, and you will literally have pulled with magnetism them into your orbit.
Yeah.
It's what I call the cult leader syndrome, because it's actually not building a rapport, it's building a dominance over them. And this is what's horrible about it. You have to constantly maintain it in order for it to exist. And it is beating down the others more and more each time. You're not building any kind of trust. You're taking over. And you have to do it all the time. Otherwise, people are going to start to realize, wait, that guy was an asshole. And it also creates a power dynamic, a power imbalance, to where no one is helping anyone but you.
Yeah.
That is repulsive. Do not do it. Because as soon as you get caught, you're done. And it could pull outside of your own community. It could pull into other parts of the industry. People who are known to have that kind of cult leader syndrome often find themselves either blackballed or just despised.
Yeah.
It's also just a shitty way to be. So don't try to be the center of attention. Don't try to use techniques to do that. Instead, be genuine in yourself and let it just happen.
And on the personal note, this did happen to Steele. It was somebody who he thought was one of his best friends.
Yeah.
And it turned out not to be the case.
It was very ugly.
And very hurtful.
Mm-hmm. Took me a long time to recover from it. But I mean, it just all comes down to being genuine and authentic. Don't try to force yourself to be something you're not.
Right.
Don't tell jokes if you're not funny. Don't tell stories if you're long-winded. Just be you. I mean, just be you.
And I've got a story for that.
Go for it.
When I was in business school, one of our events was that we had to go to. Well, we should go to. We were encouraged to go to was networking events. Get out there, meet and greet potential employers, and these were all set up by the school.
Right.
The location, the time. It was actual. It's a school sponsored network event, and various employers and stuff would be invited, and you just network. OMG! So I signed up for one of those, and I was in New Orleans at the time. On my own nickel, I flew up to New York.
Right.
Because this was an event taking place in New York, in Manhattan, and it was targeting the New York City employers.
Right.
The Bloomberg and Viacom, and all those different big players up there. So Teal shows up at the event. I was a little nervous anyway because at the time I didn't network. I was pretty insular and shy. So I just showed up. I felt forced to talk to all these different people. I mean, I felt a lot of social pressure to go introduce yourself, talk to this person, and then after 2 minutes, move on. And it felt so fake, and I felt just so out of place that I ended up just after about 30 minutes, just standing in a corner with my punch and just looking out the room and going, why am I here? What's the point of this? And I started reading the room. I actually took a step back and started looking at the room, and the impression I got was that nobody really wanted to be there. The people who were representing the employers, they were just there for a free meal. In fact, one of them even told me that. He was pretty upfront. He's like, yeah, I just came here because y'all have good food. Wow.
Yeah.
Not a single person there that was employer had any intention of vetting us as new hires, graduate hires. Not because guess what I found out as well? Yes, I was actually talking to people off the cuff. Nobody was hiring. New York was going through a recession, so nobody was hiring. There was no point to that event. The business school just threw it because they wanted to maintain their presence up there. Oh my God. I spent all this money to go up there to try to find a job and find out it was bullshit. So that's when I just said, enough's enough. And I left the event. And I went out into the city. And for the next 2 days, I walked in Manhattan. I just walked around.
You had a good time.
I had a good time, and there is a part 2 to this story. I swear there is.
Go for it.
Okay. So I ended up in the garment district, and I was going to different stores, shops that just sold buttons or shops that just sold material. I went to a material shop, and at the time I was really into cosplay, and I'm like, I'd like to cosplay Princess Aurora. Why not? From Disney.
Yeah.
I found some material in one of those shops that was this beautiful shiny satin, and it reflected the light. So it was pink in one white light, it was blue in another. I'd never seen anything like that. And I said, oh my God, this is perfect. This is perfect. So I got a bolt and went up to the counter. As I was talking with the owner of the store about this material, someone else came up to us. And the person just started chatting with us. It was curious about the material. So we were showing them, and I said, oh yeah, no, this is perfect. Yeah, if you're under lights, it's going to shine in different ways. It's going to look unique. And the person I was talking with was genuinely interested in it. So we had this conversation about material and how material looks under lights and stuff like that. Well, the point is this. That person was the lead costume designer for Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus. And this person was looking for a new costume ideas for the ringmaster. They just hired a man to be the ringmaster. And he had darker skin and they really, really wanted some beautiful material to showcase their new hire. And this was perfect. And I made a connection. I still talk to this person occasionally over Facebook, but I was being genuine. We were talking about something we were mutually interested in.
Yeah.
And, I walked away from that learning a little bit more about costuming, and even big outfits like Ringling Brothers go shopping in the same stores that I do.
So to summarize that, if I may.
Yeah.
What Teal has told you, and this is a true story, is the two-parter of going and trying to be fake just to get those connections doesn't work. But when you just talk to a person like a person that you share interests with, next thing you know, you have a connection. And it's true. Teal does talk to that person on a regular basis.
I do. Yeah.
So to summarize this all, guys, and everybody listening to this on VOD or otherwise, be you. Be you and talk about what you like with other people who like what you like. And trust me, it'll fall into place. It always does.
It always does.
So now we're going, now it's time for us to take questions from our live audience.
If you've been watching, please remember to use the poll question feature in our chat.
Yes. Or podcast question. I don't remember what it is, but it's the only thing available for chat. As we wait for our questions to start coming up, it's only 50 slime points, guys. That's just 15 minutes of listening to us ramble.
Exactly.
I kind of want to go a little bit on the positive aspects that we've had, because we've been all over the world. In our life, Teal and I have had some negative experiences, some positive experiences.
We've rambled all over the place.
Yeah, but the reality is that earlier in our lives, we made mistakes, and we paid for it, but we learned from them. And that's the thing for you guys. Learn from your mistakes, especially in networking. People are forgiving as a whole of people who learn from their mistakes.
Yeah.
People are less forgiving as a whole, people who either don't learn from their mistakes or continuously repeat their mistakes. And that is a tenet of community network.
Sure.
Going out there and being you, learning from your mistake, trying not to repeat negative behavior.
And trying to exemplify positive behavior. Yeah. Because as I said, the driving force of all this is your genuine curiosity to get to know other people.
Right.
To learn things that are outside of yourself, outside of your own bubble.
That's right.
Connections.
Yeah,
connecting with other people.
Connecting. It's so important. There used to be, back in the day, that the person who got the job was the person with the amazing portfolio and the spotless resume. And nowadays, I mean, honestly, even outside of game developers, it's who you know.
It's who you know.
It's who you know.
True story.
True story.
That's how I got this new job I'm in.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with a resume or what job boards I was on. It had everything to do with a particular person that I knew.
Right.
Her daughter worked in the same floor as my current employer, and her daughter forwarded my resume to my boss.
That's right. And the rest is history.
Yeah.
So it is about who you know. But let's go and take a step back away from trying to get opportunities. Let's just talk about building rapport in the community.
Absolutely.
Because these communities are people who share the same interest as you. And in game development, sometimes your communities are the people who help walk along that journey with you.
Yeah. And I just say my own personal experience, I've made a lot of new friends through our community, through Discord and just random chats.
Yeah.
And I like to think that these are lifelong friendships.
They definitely are.
You know?
I mean, there are people who are part of the Studio Blue community that I regularly play video games with now.
Yeah.
You know, people like Buba Hotep and Kyoya, who I'm always playing Phasmophobia with. You know, doesn't have to be someone I've been friends with IRL, like Bad Fox and Giba. It can be someone who I get to know.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, you know, we can speak from, as we wait to see if any podcast questions pop up, from our own experience being YouTubers.
Right.
if we feel that someone's getting to know us because they want to be a part of the community, we become extremely receptive to them. We're open to everyone.
Of course.
But we become hyper receptive to people who want to get to just be friends with us. We can tell if someone wants to schmooze up the Steel and Teal.
Right.
And it's a different response. There's actually a member of our community who just popped on one day and just started to share knowledge. Yeah. And I consider this as a Will Black, the creator trailblazer.
Yes, he is.
I consider him to be an absolute gem because he didn't come in with the desire to get anything. He didn't come in with the desire to smooze up to Steel and Teal. He literally popped onto our server and started giving writing advice because he had made the mistakes and he had learned. And if you do that, if you just pop onto a place where you know you can help and you say, how can I help you? Let me help you. Let me help you. Don't even ask. Just if someone says, I'm having trouble writing a character, and you tell them how to write a character.
Yeah.
If someone's like, I am having so much trouble with this map, and you just advise them on the map. If you do that, you wrote your network.
Exactly. That's all part of networking.
That's all it is, yeah. It's that simple. All right, so since I'm not seeing any podcast questions this time, it seems like we're going to be ending without any questions.
Okay, that's fine.
But as usual...
But if you guys have questions later on, feel free to post them.
Yeah, comments if you're watching this on YouTube.
Or connect with us on Discord. And any of us will be happy to answer your question.
Absolutely.
Because we got some real smart people on our Discord.
We do. If we're not around, we absolutely have tons of people who will help.
Yeah.
Send us an email if you have that. We're always around to help people. It's what we do.
Yeah.
All right, well, as usual, we want to thank you guys for joining us, whether it be live or listening to us on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, and all those other places, YouTube. We appreciate you guys. You guys make doing this tons of fun. So, join us next time on DLC Not Included. And remember,
anyone can give you the key, but you have to go through the door.